Hey everyone, it's Rajiv and welcome back to my channel Rajiv's Reviews. In this video, I'm going to be giving my book review of the third and final book of the Hunger Games trilogy called Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. So in this book, Peeta has been captured by the capital and Katniss is now in District 13 where there is a revolution being formed by everyone who survived in the other districts against the capital. The story then revolves around how Katniss embraces her role as the Mockingjay and goes from district to spread the news of the revolution and forms a plan to eliminate President Snow. Then Peeta also comes back from the capital, but now he is completely brainwashed into thinking that Katniss is the enemy. So what follows is this final showdown and battle between Katniss and the districts with the capital and the romance between Katniss and Peeta and Gale. This is one of those books which I wanted to like so much because, as you would have seen in my previous two videos, I loved the previous two books in the series, so I had really high expectations for this book. I was expecting something grand and something very iconic, and after reading it, unfortunately, I was just very disappointed and frustrated, and I think I ended up getting a headache as well. Firstly, I felt like the story of Mockingjay itself is a tangent away from the previous two books. What I mean to say is, while the first two books in the series mainly focused on the Hunger Games, the actual games, and all the tactics and strategies that Katniss comes up with in order to survive in the games, this book did not have the games at all, and it felt like I was reading more of a war or revolution book with the same characters. In some ways, this is also good because it felt different, but at the same time, it felt very disconnected to the previous two books. And then there are just so many characters who are introduced in the story, like Cressida or Tigress or Jackson or President Coin, and they only stay for a short period of time. So you really don't get to know them very well because they were never mentioned in the previous books. And to make matters worse, the people you actually know and love from the previous two books are suddenly killed off left and right, and you really don't even get a moment to mourn for them because as soon as they are killed, the author immediately pushes Katniss to the next plot and how she has to deal with the next situation. I'm not going to give away any spoilers as to who gets killed in this book in case you have not read it and you are wanting to read it, but let's just say that there are a lot of unnecessary deaths, in my opinion, which could have been avoided or which could have been written in a much better manner without being so rushed where you don't even get time to adjust to it. And then there's the whole build up between Katniss and President Snow. From the first book, you know that there is this big build up of war between Katniss and President Snow. So in this book, I actually expected something of a grand battle or a final war between the two because they are the two main characters. But the final scenes of them together was just such a disappointment. And moreover, I really don't understand why President Coin, who has never been even mentioned before in the previous books, was suddenly thrown in the story where she is also a potential villain. And even though I liked how Katniss is conflicted as to whether she should trust President Coin or not, I just felt like the whole character of President Coin was unnecessary and did not even have to be included, and it would have been better if Katniss actually took control of the entire District 13 in order to get back at the capital. And yes, I always wanted Katniss to end up with Peeta, so in a way I was happy in how the author kind of pairs them together, but at the same time, towards the end of the story, it was just so frustrating because even the way that was written was not what I had expected, because the way the author mentions the ending is as if Katniss did not have any other option and she was completely hopeless and being with Peeta was her only choice, even whether she liked it or not. I did like the first half of the book where Katniss and Peter are actually separated because it actually gives us time to see how Katniss actually feels about Peter. Because in the first two books, you really don't know whether she has genuine feelings for him or whether she's just being overprotective of him because they both have to survive in the games. But in this story, with them being apart, you actually get to see if Katniss has genuine feelings for him or not. Honestly, if I had just picked up Mockingjay without reading the previous two books, I think I would have enjoyed it better. It is actually a pretty decent story about war and revolution, but when you actually compare it to how awesome the previous two books were and how a lot of those elements was not present here, it was not what I had expected. What they could have actually done was split this book into two books, like how they did for the movie renditions, because at least in the first book, we would have focused mainly on the revolution part and how Katniss goes from district to district, and how the second book could have been detailed with additional pages on Peter's return and even giving the readers time to adjust and see the interactions between the two. And if characters had to be killed off, at least give us more pages of details to accept and deal with the deaths. The only reason I enjoyed this book so much was because of Katniss's character and the various emotions that she goes through, where you see her as this strong, fierce emblem for the Mockingjay when she is battling or fighting. But at the same time, you see her so emotional and vulnerable and see her struggling to hold down when her whole world crashes around her. So yeah, I loved reading those scenes of her emotional turmoil, but other than that, this was very disappointing. So overall, while the Hunger Games trilogy will still remain one of my all-time favorite young adult books, um, without the first two books, no matter how many times I read Mockingjay, I don't think I will ever feel good about it as much I did for the previous two books. So just for that, I give this book a rating of only 2.5 out of 5 stars. If you have read the trilogy, then what did you think of Mockingjay and how did you find the ending? Please do share your thoughts and comments on the section below. And if you enjoyed this review, then please do like, share, and subscribe. And do watch my other videos for other book reviews and book related topics. Until next time, take care. See you. Bye.